Gideon Falter, the man at the centre of this row. He is joining us right now. Good morning to you, Gideon.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It is extraordinary. This has been on the front pages for days on end. We've got calls for the Met chief to go, including from the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. We've just played in the last few moments a short clip of the exchange you had with this police officer who basically said, you were provocative because you were trying to cross this road because you were openly Jewish. Are you satisfied with the apologies you've received from the Met Police so far?
Well, I've accepted the apology that I got from Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist for the appalling statement they put out on Friday, essentially blaming me for not just this happening, but also the fact that I'd made it public at all, that I should have sort of taken it on the chin and sort of not embarrassed them. They said that I had, quote, put a dent in the confidence of many Jewish Londoners. And, that's completely the opposite of what happened. They put a dent in the confidence of Jewish Londoners through their behaviour. So I've accepted the apology for that statement. But there seem to be a few strange things going on with the Met. There have been all sorts of reports that I'm having a meeting with the Commissioner. I've asked them about that. I haven't been given a time. It's shortly going to be the Passover festival, so I won't be able to do a meeting. I've repeatedly reminded them of that. I haven't been given a time yet, so it looks like the Met has pulled a stunt by saying that they've offered me a meeting that they have no intention of actually turning up to. And there's something else which is really bothering me about all of this. One is that in all of the footage, you can see quite a lot of people shouting abuse at me. In fact, one person who even says he's going to follow me around, and not because he supports me, but because he opposes me for being, presumably for being Jewish. That's all he seems to know about me, is that I'm a Jew. And the Met doesn't seem to be investigating any of these incidents as crimes. It doesn't seem to be. It hasn't contacted me to find out what happened. It doesn't seem to be going through the footage and issuing appeals to identify any of these people. So I'm concerned that the Met is saying they're very serious about reassuring Jewish Londoners. They're going to take this very seriously. They aren't investigating any of the incidents that
caught on camera. And there was no concern by the other officers. I mean, there were a number of officers in that video, people shouting scum, I think Nazi and things like that at you. And there was no concern from the other officers. They just came to just stand there. There wasn't even a sort of, oi, come here, mate.
Yeah, there was one incident where this person said something very threatening to me. And
what did he say?
The officer says, "You're not having a very productive conversation with the gentleman, are you?" To this man who was threatening me.
What did he say? Can we repeat it on air, Gideon?
Yeah, he was saying that he said, "I'm not afraid of your F-word people. I'm going to follow you around. I'm going to record your movements. The police ain't going to help you in this scenario," and all that sort of thing, right in front of an officer. Very threatening stuff. And the officer turns to him and he says, "You're not having a very productive conversation with the gentleman, are you?" And the man says back to the officer, "I ain't broke no law in it. I'm just a civilian going for a walk."
Which
and the officer replies, "That's absolutely fine." I just thought, I'm a civilian going for a walk. Okay. I haven't broken any law. How come I'm the one being threatened with arrest?
Here's the thing. You've got every right to walk anywhere you darn well please in any city in this country, and I defend that right. And indeed, I think I'm going to be out there on Saturday defending that right, because I think all right-thinking people should be doing that, to make that clear. We're told that these marches are not a no-go zone for Jewish people. Certainly many of the Jewish people I know are very fearful and tell their children, don't go into central London, you can't guarantee your safety. We're told these are not hate marches. These are peace-loving people concerned about the children of Gaza and what is happening to them, and that it's not anti-Semitic. Here's the thing. Long video, the longer 13-minute video, which Sky News has put out, which taken of this incident, the suggestion from the police officer you're speaking to, who calls you openly Jewish, and implied in the longer video, is that you weren't there by chance. You weren't just leaving a synagogue and planning to go and then, oh, what a surprise, I've come across an pro-Palestine march and I want to cross the road and I need to get there. This was, for all intents and purposes, a stunt. You wanted to show what would happen if someone, quote, openly Jewish, arrived at one of these marches and wanted to cross the road. Is that the case?
So this is, if you follow that line of reasoning, then, and this is always what happens when we see an anti-Semitic incident happen, what we often get is all sorts of people, particularly sort of far left cranks, who say that, you know, every Jew is basically somehow responsible for, you know, the state of Israel or something like that. What we end up with is these far left cranks trying to dismantle it and saying, well, maybe it didn't really happen. Maybe the Jewish person brought it on themselves. You know, Gideon was being followed around by a film crew. I wasn't being followed by a film crew. Sky News were there covering the protests, and they saw what was happening with me, presumably, and their cameraman came out. And to be honest, as sadly, I think it's a statement about society, but as always happens now, whenever anything happens with the police, everybody whips out their smartphones. So there's oodles of footage of what happened. And what happens is that the police officer says, you know, you're quite openly Jewish, says that's going to antagonize people, says that if I stay where I am, I'm going to get arrested. And then when he sees everybody's filming him, he starts to realize, I assume, that he's made quite a big mistake. And he starts saying that I am being disingenuous and I wasn't really trying to, you know, I was crossing the road the wrong way or something like that. You know, some really bizarre statements that he makes. And people are now sort of trying to say, oh, you know, it was a stunt. It was a... If you follow their line of reasoning, that this was all some kind of planned provocation. I wasn't wearing any badges. I didn't have a placard. I didn't have a flag or any other sign. I wasn't shouting a slogan. I was literally just Jewish in London. And if you follow their line of reasoning is that being Jewish in the presence of these marches is a provocation.
Yeah.
And you kind of should have known that this was going to happen. It's no different to the line of reasoning that says, if you wear a short skirt in the vicinity of men and you get sexually assaulted, then you should have known that that was going to happen to you. And it's despicable. It's victim blaming. And apparently it's live and well in 2024.
It is interesting also, as some campaigners pointing out, that if he had said the same, you know, you're openly black at, say, a BNP march, the idea that a black person shouldn't be allowed to walk on the streets because of racism would be considered extraordinary, and yet somehow it's accepted. Isn't the issue really not with that individual officer, not even perhaps with Mark Rowley, the Met Chief? It's actually that the entire government, the entire establishment, they're terrified of these marches. They're terrified of them going on. They're terrified of them being stopped because they're worrying what's going to happen, and they don't know what to do. And they're cowed into sort of, let's just play nicey-nicey and hope nothing happens. But it's been month after month after month that these marches have continued. By the way, the first march was organised before there was any retaliation from Israel as a result of the 7th of October massacre. A small point people seem to forget. So what they weren't for the children, the innocent children of Gaza then, were they? So how do we resolve this? How do we deal with this? What do you want done? Do you want the marches banned?
Yeah, I mean, Julie, you're absolutely right. First of all, our politicians are completely absent, it seems, in all of this. Where on earth is the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan? Where on earth is the Home Secretary, James Cleverly? We haven't really heard from them at all on this. We've heard, you know, reports of sources close to this person say that and all the rest of it. Can they please just come out and talk to us about what they're going to do about this situation? Not necessarily about what happened to me, but about these marches and the way that they're making Jewish people feel. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I agree with you, the frontline officers are not the problem. I had a conversation yesterday, a very constructive conversation with the chair of the Met Police Federation, which represents frontline officers, and we agreed. Neither of us was particularly happy with the things that some of the officers did, but we agree that the change that we need is not going to come from frontline officers. It's going to have to come from the top of the Met. And this is the problem. We have a commissioner who has powers under the Public Order Act, either to curtail these marches, so reduce them in size, reduce them in duration, limit the routes that they can go on, or to ban them completely. And the threshold for banning a march under the law, the wording says, it has to be causing serious disruption to the life of the community. And in making that judgment, whether it's causing serious disruption, they're also allowed to look at the cumulative effect of these things happening every single week, week after week, month after month. And I would ask Sir Mark Rowley, if not being able to walk in the vicinity of these marches as a Jew is not serious disruption to the life of the community, then what on earth is? And if he's so serious about safeguarding the Jewish community, why doesn't he use these powers to ban the marches? And why doesn't he investigate all of the incidents that happened to me on the march instead of just press releasing that he's going to meet with me when apparently he has no intention of doing so?
Gideon, very much appreciate you joining us. Gideon Falter, thank you very much indeed for that.